to Incite with Tendai. My name is Tendai Marowa, the founder of the Legacy of True Beauty. This episode, we are unpacking entrepreneurship, running a business, the challenges that we face with this new norm, the COVID. And we've been having this COVID season, 2 years now, and everyone was counting down 2021. Yes, we are done with COVID. But now with all this vaccination and all these things happening, it has not been easy. So today I've got a special lady who I stalked on Instagram, who is such an inspiration. She runs a business with her partner, Ego, in Parkhurst and also Pretoria. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about because now I'm dropping names, né? And it's actually Miss London Salon. I think you guys know it. It's based in Parkhurst, Morningside, and they also have in Pretoria. Today I've got the opportunity for her to come through her busy schedule. This woman is busy, and I've got the director behind Miss London Salon SA, Linda Ojola. I did it wrong, but let's hear what the guest says. She might have to correct me on this one. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
How are you?
Me. Really well.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Now I'm now navigating your surname. I'm like, wait a minute.
Jangulo.
She just told me. Why am I blank? You know what I mean?
No, it's fine. It's Jangulo.
Yes.
And another point of correction: we
Yes.
don't have Medellin anymore. It's
Oh,
just
really?
Morningside and Parkhurst.
I thought you guys still have in Pretoria.
No, that was like 2019. We
Yeah,
closed.
you guys closed before the COVID.
Just before. Thank God.
Sure, so now it's just two.
Just the two
Morningside
branches.
and Parkhurst. So guys, Pretoria, Dololo. So all the Pretoria clients, please come to Joburg. That's where it all happens. But thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you
for your
having me.
time, and me stalking you on Instagram. Yeah, I've got my stalking moments. I was like, I need these ladies to come. And then you gave me the opportunity to interview you for IG Live.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And here we are today meeting for the first time in person.
Right.
And we are going to unpack about the entrepreneur side because it's been difficult. It's been difficult. But take us through, because you are a flight attendant. No, I'm saying life attendant. Flight attendant. Many years ago. Let's not expose the age, but many years ago.
My age, by the way.
You then decided to say, you know what, I'm done. I am now going to go into entrepreneurship. Why did you leave the traveling and all those lovely things that we see that you guys gain?
See, that's the thing about that behind the scenes. Everybody thinks it's glamorous. It's a glorified maid. Yes, that's all I can say. But no, look, that was many years ago. But it takes its toll. And I was a corporate flight attendant.
Yes.
So which meant that I had no schedule. Whenever the company called, I had to go. And having no schedule meant if you were gone for a month, you were gone for a month. If you were gone for 4, you were gone for 4. But it does take its toll, and I wanted to settle down. It was just, I had gotten to that point where it was just time to
because you can't settle down if you're gone for a month. I mean, your husband will be like, how? And then I'm going to be looking at the furniture.
Exactly, and that's how it was. And because of not having a schedule, so whenever the company called, there was nothing like, oh, next week you're going to leave. I'd get a call like at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's a flight at 8, you need to get on. Oh, okay, and you get on. And I loved what I did, and I think that became my detriment because I gave it and I gave it and I gave it, and it just came to a point where I needed to stop. And yeah, I was done. Yeah.
Sure. And then how did you meet your partner, and how did that journey now evolve into where you are today?
So funny enough is that our partnership was such an organic one, because when we met through the kids in school. She moved in from the UK, that was 2010. And there was a mail that went out introducing, new family into the class.
Yes.
And so of course, we meet up, and I thought, okay, let's have a coffee. And through talking, at the time, I was actually looking at investing in a little, it's an indescript little nail bar in a hair salon. But that was just going on and on and on and on, and nothing was coming to, you know. And then I, you know, talking to Ego, and she was like, I said to her, it was BlackBerry time. And I said, oh, I was reading, yes. I was like, I was reading your BBM, something about Miss Salon. And then she goes, oh yeah, I run this business in the UK, you know, as a business to business. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and then she talks about nail technicians, and I thought, I wanted to invest in a nail bar. And she was like, oh, that's something that I do. I help nail bars and blah. And that was that, you know, we ended it. Month and a half in to us meeting, January 17th, she gives me a call and she's like, Linda, remember I was telling you about this one business? They need to go. Are you in? I was like, what do you mean? I thought, okay, fine, let's do this. I mean, bear in mind, I had not a penny in my pocket, okay? I'm like,
I was about to say,
okay.
how did you guys
I had not a penny in my, I had no money. I mean, you know, I'm a housewife. I'm just, you know, doing my thing, driving my kids to school. And I think, okay, let's do this. We did all the meetings. We came down to finance, and I was like, I said to my husband, listen, there's this little business that, you know, and he was like, oh, cash flow just doesn't allow open movement. I thought, it's just shattered. But anyways, that aside, I decided it felt right. That's what I wanted to do. I decided I was going to sell my car. And so I got online. In fact, I went, it was a Kia Sorento 4x4. I went to Kia and I said, how much would you give me for this? Okay, leave it and we'll assess and blah. And in like 2 days, I wasn't getting a response, and I just thought, oh, they're wasting time. Online, second-hand cars, I came across this guy, I'll never forget, Mohammed. And I called him up and I said, listen, I've got this car, are you interested? Is it something you would buy? And he says, yeah, okay, I'll come through in the morning and have a look. Mohammed came through, had a look. He had his little bag and he says, I'll give you so much cash and I'll transfer the rest to you now. And I thought, are you kidding me? No way. And the deal was done. And I was like, yes. So we went, did the bank thing, and then here we are 11 years later.
Wow. Go for it, eh?
Go for it.
Even if it means selling something, you have to. Apparently, my grandmother used to say, for you to move forward, you have to sacrifice something.
Absolutely. For you to receive, you need to let go, right?
You need to let
You
go.
can't receive with a closed fist.
And now look at you guys.
11 years later.
11 years later. And when you guys started it, did it start with workshops? Did you guys do some workshops in terms like let's empower women in makeup, or?
What it was to have a fun space for women to come and just unwind. We all know how grooming is so taxing.
Yes.
You know, people just want to be in and out, but we wanted a place where people could come and actually enjoy their time,
Yes.
so it didn't feel like a chore. You know, it actually felt like you were looking forward to going to get your nails done. That's how it started. So I mean, the makeup came a few years later, only, but you know, the whole idea is come in, and we wanted to have more of a one-stop shop sort of thing, you know, and that's why we have little trinkets that we sell, and you know, we serve drinks, so people just felt like it was home. That was the idea.
Yeah, and that's the important thing, making your client feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
And it's even at home. So we're going to dig deep into entrepreneurship. Now that you have told us that, sacrifice is important. For me, it's one of the greatest lessons have you learned in the entrepreneurship game so far?
I think one of the greatest lessons is, you know, you need to persevere. Whatever it is, if you believe it, trust me, you can sell it. You know, but you have to believe it. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you can't convince yourself, I'm sorry, you can't convince anybody else. So you need to buy into whatever it is that you are selling before you try and sell it to someone else.
Believe in your product.
Believe in your product. Believe in yourself. You know, I mean, I'm an introvert through and through, but when you see me on the shop floor, I'm a totally different person because I enjoy what it is that I do, and I believe in my product, I believe in my salon, I believe in what you can gain being in the space. And there's so many lessons because, you know, we always see these quotes going, oh, you know, you never know what somebody's dealing with. And it's absolutely true. So sometimes you start a conversation and when a person's leaving and they're like, oh my God, you have no idea what you've just done for me. But meantime, you were just being you.
Yes.
So, you know, it's also very important to just be authentic. You can't be copying. If you look at Ego and I, we're two different personalities. Totally different, but you will never find me trying to be Ego, because that's not who I am. I am who I am. So when you come there, and you find there are people that relate to her because they've got the boisterous personality, and those that relate, and then there are those that relate to both of us because they understand that people are so different, they're so diverse, but you can gain something from either side.
What are some of your downfalls that when you look back and you're like, never will I advise anyone to go through this in entrepreneurship? Is there any?
Nothing comes to the top of my head, but I will say, if you are struggling or are not sure, always seek help. It doesn't hurt. Seek help, because I think that's where people fail.
Yeah.
Because we feel, you know, we all go into stuff that we think we know or we think that we're good at.
Yes.
And somewhere along the line you stumble.
Yes.
But and I don't even know if it's about pride or whatever it is that's holding people back, but we don't share. Because in sharing, you get somebody that actually has, you know, they might introduce you to somebody or they have the answer for you.
Yeah.
And that could save you a lot.
With this pandemic, right, I think it has also made you guys also think about downscaling. Did you get to the point where you had to like really suppress some costs and really downscale and actually now look out of the box to actually make it successful like other business have? Have you guys gone through that?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, March of 2020 was hard because you had to start asking the questions. How are we going to come out at the other end? First of all, you know, March was not as hard because, you know, we thought everybody kind of like, we need that downtime. It was going to be 3 weeks or something, whatever, where it was 21 days. And we thought, yay, you know. And then April 15th came along and it wasn't, you know.
Yes.
And then that 21 days turned into 3 months. Now there's 3 months of zero income, but your bills are still accumulating.
Yeah.
You know, your rental in your space is still accumulating. Even if you were at a 50% discount, you're still accumulating something without gaining anything in. So it was, you know, it was very hard. So you start to ask, how are we going to do this? But the one thing that we decided we were not going to do, because we understood as individuals and as human beings that everybody was facing a very tough time, and it wasn't a time to start letting people go. So we thought, would you rather that you let go, or we kind of like rein it in? Nobody's going to be getting copious amounts of money because we don't know. So even when we came back June, July, we were working on, let's see, do we still have business?
Yeah,
because that was the other thing.
Level 3,
yeah, I think it was level 3 when, you know, and we didn't know until we tried it. We were like, okay, let's see. So month 1, you know, it was a hard pool, you know, crawling out of that hole, trying to crawl out of that hole. But eventually, you know, we got out of it. And just as we thought we had the climb, came this year whenever we had that whole little thing, and, you know, it was like, no, like, do we need this? But, you know, again, it goes back to the perseverance, you know. We knew that, look, this is what our business is. And I remember during one of the lockdowns, I read something that said, your business will never go obsolete. There'll always be a need for it. But are you willing to push through the difficult times? Are you? You know, so we were willing to push through the difficult times. And thank God that we had relationships. So your value chain is very important.
Yeah.
You know? It's your landlords, your staff.
Yes.
You know, you all need to come together and be like, okay, how are we going to navigate this? The only way you can navigate it is through dialogue and coming to some kind of solution.
Yeah, that is so true. And do you think, just talking for small businesses and upcoming businesses, just to throw it out there, because I've seen some have thrived through promotions and sales, mobile as well for like fashion or beauty, just like personal services. Do you find that that is always a go-to when you are compressed in your business financially?
Look, there are certain businesses, not always, some businesses absolutely thrive on, you know, whether it's promos and, you know, trying to stretch out there and home service and things like that. So we had introduced home services, which we never did prior. And it wasn't a huge part of our business, but it just kept those that felt, I'm not going into the public space, they still felt like, you know what, I could still get my nails done in, you know, in the comfort of my home. So even if they sat down on the patio outside and, you know, the thing is that with beauty, with the nail salons and things like that, it's a very sterile environment anyways. And people don't realize that even pre-COVID, we were a hygienic salon and will continue to be a, you know, so all of these protocols were nothing new to us.
Because
it was already in place. We pride on ourselves, you know, barbicide is key. We always make sure that we have it. There's no compromise. If you don't have barbicide, it's as good as having your shop closed. You know, we would rather you call Parkers and be like, do you have barbicide? Send us barbicide. But you will not go through a day without barbicide because it's key. It's part of your hygiene protocols. You have to have. You know, so it works for some people for them to kind of like stretch out. I mean, we tried, you know, where you're like, oh, 20% off or whatever. But in our business, we found that it's not an attraction for our business.
It's what works for the individual. And we were just talking earlier about how we were saying men in entrepreneurship game or businesses, they seem to thrive more than females. And I would love us to unpack on that, like why is it perceived like that, that it's easy for guys to make deals and it's very quick, you know? And for me, I wanted your perspective of us as females. Where do we go wrong in thriving in entrepreneurship?
I think with men, they do this brotherhood thing very easily. Then there's no hang-ups. Whereas with women, you know, we've got a sisterhood thing, but you know, it's usually with friends. And that's it. Ego and I were not friends. You know, we met. We literally had just met. We were kind of getting to the point of a friendship, and then we became business partners. And then a friendship grew from the business partnership. So it doesn't mean that just because you're best mates, you're going to be great business partners. It's just, you know, it doesn't have to be like that. So you find that people go, oh no, you know, we've been friends for like 20 years. And then when the hard times come, because you have to always remember that, you know, your business is your core. But now when you're best mates, okay, so which is first, our friendship or our business? Our friendship or our business? You know, and then you find that both suffer because you're trying to preserve both without realizing you're hurting the other person. You're hurting the other thing. You know, so we are focused that look, this it's for the good of our business first. You know, it's not ego trips or whatever. It's for the good of our business. This is what will work. We work through it, and then you move on. But when it comes to friendships, it's very hard. So I think men are not hung up on these friendships or whatever. You know, you find that they talk about deals, God knows, you know, what sums they talk about. But if it goes wrong, it's gone wrong. Whereas, and I think we hold on, and you know, it becomes an emotional thing.
Wow. So basically, you don't think friends should actually do business together?
Not necessarily. As long as you don't realize that your business comes first in the equation. I mean, if you put money down, you know, what are you trying to save? You know, if you're playing, it's a hobby, it's one thing. But if you're trying to change the world, the landscape, it's the business. You know what I mean? But if then you're with your best mate and you've got opposing views on something, you know, you're too afraid to say what you feel because you don't want to hurt your mate, then your business suffers. Or if you're going to say it and then, you know, your mate feels like, oh, you know, how does she feel? I mean, think about it. It's if you take delegating a task and your friend doesn't do it, how do you then reprimand them for not doing it? How do you bring it about and say, you know, dude, you were supposed to do this?
And they don't take it.
And when you do, you know, it doesn't come out nice.
Nice,
You know what I mean?
It comes out like a baby.
But you know, yeah, you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
I
choose
agree
one.
with you, yeah.
You know, so if you do go into partnership or business with a friend, you have to outline it.
Set boundaries.
You set the boundaries, you set, you know, responsibilities, and, you know, whether it's appointing somebody that you can both be accountable to.
Yeah.
Because then it's not, you know, one to the other.
Yeah. That's interesting. I learned something, hey? And motherhood. You are a mother of 3 amazing boys. Adventurous home it is, eh?
Oh my God, never a dull moment.
What are the greatest lessons that you, like top 3 highlights that you enjoy about motherhood?
You know, I think my boys, they bring out the best in me. They remind me to come back to myself. Because, you know, when you're a mother, they don't need me to be this superhuman being or whatever it is. They just need me to show up as me and just be the best mother that I can be. So there's no pretenses and all of that. So when I go back to that space, it's just me, you know, that they're dealing with. Whereas when you go out into the business world, you know, I'll take you back to that whole female thing. We're so hung up on success that we don't want the failures and the little quirks that are going on in the background to be highlighted. So, you know, you're always trying to show up as your best. But when you're a mother, you show up as you are. And there are times, you know what, I get home and I think, guys, I am exhausted. Just not now. And then they, you know, they'll turn it around or whatever. And, you know, my kids are at that age as well where they're so opinionated. I mean, at the moment I'm toxic. That's what they say. You know, so, you know, it's like, I'll say something like, "Can you take your plate?" "Oh, why are you so toxic?" You know. But that's how it is. But, you know, in those moments, I actually have a good laugh because then I realize, I'm like, you know what, kids will always be kids. You know, it's like, and I don't, you know, you don't take it seriously. You know, they might say stuff or whatever, but I don't take it like, oh my God, they're insulting me. Whereas in the real world, if someone said you were toxic, you'd be like, oh my God, you'd carry that with you like forever, you know what I mean? But that's just their way of lightening things up, you know, like, oh, you know. And I love it because then they just bring me back to realizing that, you know what, yeah, just chill sometimes.
Just take it easy.
Yeah, just take it easy. What's the plate gonna do?
And do you wish that you had a girl in between, like just calm the house? So you're happy with
No,
the
I'm
boys?
happy with it.
No girl.
I'm actually glad that I didn't have a girl because
Really? What's wrong with raising girls though?
Right? Boys are just, oh man.
You know why? Because
boys rock.
before you came, the team, I'm going to expose the team. The team, they were talking about, oh yeah, you know, I think raising a girl is better than raising the boys.
No.
They were like some voids, you know, in between.
Boys
you know.
are like, listen, girls from like 7 years old, they're like 7 going on 70, first of all, from that age. You know, girls are just, it's all emotion.
Yes.
Whereas in boys, you know, we can have a moment, we'll fight, and we'll 5 minutes later, he's like, oh, mom, and, you know. Whereas in girls, they carry that stuff. They're like, you hurt me deep, you know. And you're like,
6 days.
yeah, you know what I mean. Then you start feeling like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm the mother. You know what?
Exactly.
You know, so, but you know, even then, I just find that boys are just easy when it comes to even just like grooming. I'm like, listen, your hair's messy. Come,
Then you cut and then
cut
it's
hair.
done.
It's done.
It's done.
You know, girls. Oh, then we have to schedule a hairdresser. I was just talking to a mom now.
Yeah.
Her daughter's having a matric dance tomorrow or something.
Oh wow.
So of course today was all the nails and blah,
Yes,
then
the
tomorrow it's
pretty.
then tomorrow it's makeup, and she's like, I can imagine what graduation's gonna be like. And I thought, oh thank God I don't know, 'cause I can't. I just
It's a lot already on
It's a lot, yeah, on
Before we
matric.
get
It's
to
already
graduation. Well,
and you know, when I think back, you know, I look at Instagram and Twitter, all the graduation is the girls.
it's the
You
girls.
look at it's the balloons and it's the, you don't see the guys making such a fuss. You know,
No,
guys
they
are just
don't,
like,
eh?
done.
It's done. I'm going with the boys to drink and
They're
that's
gonna
it.
go have a drink and it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also I think it's just, oh my God, the day and age that we live in, you know, it's the Ubering here and there and everybody hangs out in the shopping malls.
Yes.
I would have a heart attack having to deal with a girl.
With the girl.
No, I
So
just,
you'll be
I
like,
can't.
Ngapi, where are you?
Right.
What's happening? What
I
are
mean,
you
even
with?
now from school, I'm like, okay, when they Uber and then when they order the Uber, I'm like, can you share your link? I don't want a screenshot. I want the link so that I can track it. I just want to know.
Where they are.
Today, my niece says to me, oh, I'm home. I forgot to send you a link. And I'm like, okay. Like, don't do that.
Late.
You know what I mean? That's too late, you know? So if I had a daughter, I mean, I think I'd be that mother. I'd be fetching, dropping, and no.
Who you dating?
Yeah.
CV. He must not get into the house. He must
Poor
stay
boy.
at the gate.
Yeah. Poor
Yeah,
boy.
poor boy. What legacy do you want to leave for the boys?
I think we all equate it to some kind of generational wealth and, you know, it's always monetary.
Yes.
But I think the first thing that I want my boys to always have is love and respect.
Love and respect.
If there's any, I mean, you know, those things will always open doors for you.
Yeah.
You can have money and be, I don't know if I can say an idiot, I was going to say something else.
Yes,
but-
you can.
You know,
Express it.
you can have money and still be an idiot, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or you could, even worse than that. But, you know, when you've got love and respect, it will always open doors for you, no matter what.
And what keeps you consistent when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm grateful for life, but I'm consistent because?
I'm consistent because I believe that God has a purpose for me. And I believe every morning when I wake up that I'm awake because I still have to live out my purpose. There's still more for me to do. And so that just gives me the vigor to go out there and be the best that I can be. Because, you know, my prayer is always, let your light shine through me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to give you a Bible verse or whatever it is, but there's always something that you say that kind of points you to something greater than all these things. You know, we're always great, you know, and that's the thing, is that when things are going great, you know, we always equate it to what we've done, but we all know it has nothing to do with what we've done.
Yeah.
You know, probably the only thing that you've done is open yourself up to be used as a vessel. That's what you've done, really.
Wow. And before we get to the game questions, if you had to go to your younger self, what would you have told yourself then?
Wow, to my younger self. I think I would keep with always be authentic, stick to who you are, because as life goes on, you meet people and life is challenging. And if you think, you know, trying to be something else, or especially with the day and age of social media where we are today, we all want to be what we see on social media, and that's not reality, to be honest, because not all of it is authentic.
Yeah.
So stick to who you are and just always show up as authentic as you.
And I think I'm glad you brought that up, because the culture today, they don't know what authentic is.
No.
And most of them have identity issues, especially teenage.
Yeah.
You're raising teenagers right
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, I could see
So I'm sure the
teenagers.
boys, they've got that here, my man.
Yeah,
You
you know.
must know. And also the identity, they're still rediscovering themselves, you know.
And it's
into a
every
man.
day, and it's confusing now more than ever, because, you know, you're brought up to be this. I mean, like my boys, you know, I raise them to be God-fearing boys, because that just gives them a base to always go back to. You know, something will happen and I'll say, well, if you went to church and asked Pastor Chris, would he agree with you? And then he's like, oh, so they've got a moral compass, you know. And if they're in doubt, they can go back to church and be like, so, you know, I encountered X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll unpack it for them and be like, no, it's not your parents being, you know, that's how it is.
Yeah.
You know, point them in the right direction. So those are things, you know, they think, oh, you know, for you to be cool, you have to go and vape. I mean, this whole vaping thing as kids is just driving me up the wall, you know, it's like, but, you know,
Yes.
that kids think, oh, because so-and-so's parents allow them to,
Yes.
so, you know, what's up with you? I mean, come on, it's not that bad, you know. But yeah, it's their parents. I mean, my biggest thing I always say, like my kids will come and say, well, not everybody passed in the class, and I said, I don't pay school fees for everybody, so let's just get it for you. Get it right. Let's get it right, you know, it's all about you. So you need to, you know, get the marks. I don't care about everybody else. You know, let their parents worry about that. It's all about you. So it's the same, you know, if their parents are gonna let them vape, it's their parents. Let them vape. I don't want you vaping. Because you're not at that age where you know what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad.
Yeah.
All you can do now is learn through the process. You'll come to an age where you're going to try it. I mean, I used to think growing up, I couldn't wait to get into my own house so I could go out without sneaking through a window. I moved out at 19, I had my own house. I was like, did I go out? No. Where was I?
Traveling.
But also, I was always at my mother's house. Whenever I go back, I was always with my mother. And then she'll be like, oh, don't you have somewhere to go? Like, no, I just want to be here. And then I realized, oh, it's not that fun.
It's not that fun.
It's not that fun after all. So
Wow.
just take your time.
So basically with your boys, it seems like they're very opinionated.
Totally.
And where do they get it from? You or the father?
I don't know.
Ding, 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 ding. You know, which one, you know?
I'll tell you, my oldest one, who's almost 16, he is the most calm of all teenagers you could ever come across. So if there was ever trouble, I know it's not him. I'd be like, oh, no. The middle one.
Can never be. The last born.
No, the middle one.
Oh, the middle one is the one that is.
My middle one is, I'm like, he's the one that's going to be stealing the car. I can already see it. He is the one. Going out, I mean, my son every weekend has a plan.
Sure.
I'm like, you're 14. What's going to happen when you're 16? He's only 14. Only 14.
And he makes plans.
Oh, now he sent me a mail. He goes, oh, I realized that I've been telling you because he's been mentioning he's got some dinner or something tomorrow. I've been mentioning, but I haven't been asking. I said, yeah, because I always say to him, like, you tell me all these, you know, he mentions it in passing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Friday we're going to go and la 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 la. So I just keep quiet until, and then on the day I'm like, who did you tell? Who did you ask? You mentioned it, but you were not asking me, you know. So now he says to me, oh, I realized that I've been mentioning, but not asking, can I go for this dinner tomorrow? I'm like, oh, God. But it's every weekend there's something on.
It's the charm.
No.
The ladies are going to be coming full on, full force.
God help us.
So I love to play a game.
Okay.
And it's a one-word answer.
Okay.
And it's 5 questions. Just 5 questions.
Okay.
So my first question is, what are the characteristics of a successful woman? Well, this one it's not one word, so you can pick 2.
Okay. I think it's uplifting and focused.
And focused. What does motherhood mean to you in one word?
Motherhood is being mentally there process. So I think it's a mental choice that you make to be.
Why are you choosing the mental choice, being present?
It's about being present because, you know, we all feel parenting is stuff that you do, you know, whether it's buying stuff or whatever, the provision bit, but if you're not there mentally, you can never connect to your kids, and you can never really be the best guide if you're not connected mentally, if you're not present. You need to be present.
You need to be present. Favorite meal?
Steak.
Steak. Your steak and wine, is that your vibe?
No wine, just steak.
And
I don't
then,
drink.
oh, you don't drink. Favorite beauty item that you can't live without?
Oh, that's easy. My Miss London foundation.
I knew you were going to say that.
Easy.
That's easy. My foundation.
Yes, my foundation, okay?
That is the one thing I can't live without. And last, if you had to be in a desert, like, you know, like somewhere in the middle of nowhere, no phone, what is the first thing that you'd go to in the desert? Like look for? You don't have a phone. I know it's a weird question. The team is even looking at me like, how do you expect me to have the desert?
So now here I'm mentally, I'm like, okay, I'm in the desert.
Yes, this is being mentally present, guys. Just don't talk about being mentally present. So this is how I do things. Last question.
Okay, stress me out. I think I'd look for water. So if I was stuck there for one, I need to make sure that I've got a water source.
There you go. She knows the game. If you're in the desert, what's the first thing? Water, guys. Yes. It was fun. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, for your time, eh?
No, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it was good to see you in person.
Yeah, I didn't expect you such a pint size. I mean, gosh.
The short one, because on IG lives it's like
Yeah, you see, but even when you do your pictures, I think they, you know, they've got the angles and all of that. You know, then when I see today, I was like, oh my god, okay.
right angles.
Yeah,
You know. But thank you so much.
No, thank
I really appreciate you and all the best, you know.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sure you're going to keep us, you know, looking out for 2022, new adventure
Absolutely.
for your business. And please tell us your handles so that at least
Please
people can
look
follow
out
you.
on Miss Salon SA and on Miss London Cosmetics, because great things coming your way.
Yes. So don't let the pandemic let you not spoil yourself, ladies.
Right? Don't let it stop you.
Yeah. It's important. Self-care. Self-care
Self-care.
is important. Because
You know what? It's part of our mental health. If you don't look good, you don't feel good.
Whew, yeah. That
Simple
is so
as that.
true, guys.
If you don't look good, you don't feel good.
Don't bath for 3 days.
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
No, you know, it's funny because I've been in the salon since morning, right? So then I'm like, oh, is that the time? Let me get my makeup on. So I get my makeup. Now one of my ladies, Maria, goes, Linda, now you look like you bathed. I'm like, oh
now you're tanning.
now I look like a bath. She goes, no, makeup changes you, right? It seems like you bathed.
Love it. But guys, it's a wrap. We are wrapping the season. And thank you so much, Linda. I
It's such
really
an honor.
appreciate it. And yeah, and guys, I'll be seeing you in the next episode, but I'm not going to type in it is because I know you guys need time in now. But guys, this is a wrap. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Ciao.
Awesome.